Hey there guys, another set has come around and we're doing another precon upgrade guide. This is for Urza's Iron Alliance. This is a Esper artifacts based deck. It's an interesting deck. And we're going to check out what we've got going on here. First off is our commander. Of course, it's Urza, Chief Artificer. He is 3 and Esper colors, so white, blue, and black. 4, 5. He has affinity for artifacts, so he costs less for each artifact we control. And artifact creatures we control have menace, so that's kind of nice. At the beginning of your end step, you create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact we control. So this is going to start to make a lot of very powerful artifacts very quickly, and is going to have many menacing artifacts in this deck, hence why I called this precon upgrade guide. Artifacts are menacing. But anyway, we'll better get on into the list and see what it has to offer us. Alright guys, here we are and here we go. We're looking at the list here. You can see the price. Do take all prices with a grain of salt, because this deck has basically just come out. A lot of cards that are being reprinted will go down. A lot of the new cards will be in flux for a long time because people don't know what they do, don't know how good they are, underestimate some cards, overestimate some other cards. But yes, you guys can find this list pretty much anywhere you guys want because it's everywhere as long as you search for it. But yes, I've got to go through this list, have a look through it, figure out what there is in here that I want to take out, what I want to add and what not. So yeah, I better get going on doing that, and yeah, I'll get back to this list and show you guys what I did. If you're enjoying the content here, you can join the Screw Army by subscribing and turning on the notification. Alrighty, here we are back at the list, and you can see the price that I came to here overall at the list. And you can see the price for most of the cards that I added here. I only added one other card here that isn't actually in the edition pile here, which was Power Depot, which is like a 25-cent card, but also a very good card. So definitely, if you can find yourself adding it, definitely add it. But yeah, so about $40 worth of cards that I've added here, but we're going to go quickly, or as quickly as possible, through the cards that I decided that I would put into the let's put these out board. I will say before that the only other cards that I did add were basics. Yeah, just a few islands and plains and swamps and whatnot. But yeah, beyond that, there wasn't any other ads. I just remembered that. But yeah. Anyway, let's go through the stuff here, and I'm not going to go through the lands that I've taken out, because mostly it's all just mediocre tap lands that I think you can do without. And if you've got a really good budget, you just know what you're going to put in. You know you're going to put in the best fetches and shocks and whatnot. And if you don't have a really good budget, just put in basics. They're just fine. They're as useful as any other card that you can put in. Especially with some of the other cards that I've added. But anyway, Angel of Ruins, very high mana value card. If we could find lots of ways to cheat this into play or whatnot, then yes, I would be all over this card, but there's not many ways to do that. Not none, but again, not really a lot. So I just find that it's plain cycling for 2, and that's not exciting. Remix, we have to discard a card to basically kill something of an opponent's. So we either have to run really bad cards that we wouldn't mind discarding, or just discard our really good cards. Not that we don't have any graveyard recursion or whatever, but it's just so awkward just to kill one thing. Plus it's when it attacks. Just medium to my thinking. Otherwise, it's just a 3/2, so if it has no other text, then I don't think it's worth our time. Baleful Strix, just one-off card draw. Yes, it's a 1/1 flying death touch, but that's not really going to matter that much to us, so I just thought we'll take it out. Cranial Plating, really great card. This was probably one of the last cuts that I made, and you could definitely put it back in the list. Can be really good, especially with the ability to instant speed equip it. So if somebody is, blocking some of your stuff, even when you've got Menace or whatnot, they're probably not blocking everything. So you can equip this to something at instant speed and then just get through most of the whole bunch of damage and take them down to a very low life total. But yeah, I did have to cut something at the end there, so I decided to cut this because I thought everything else was kind of hard to cut. But there certainly are a few cards here that I'm going to suggest that you might not be able to get your hands on, so you might want to keep it in the list. There are a few cards that are like that in this list, but yeah. Juggernaut just doesn't have any evasion, so I just decided to yeet it out. D-Spark, we want to also be able to hit permanents that are mana value 3 or less. So, yeah, I just decided we want it out of here. Edge Champion, not a terrible card. Basically, it's unblockable as long as we've got 3 or more artifacts, but just a 2/2 isn't that exciting, so I just decided we can get it out of there. Ethersworn, nice big flyer, but just a little bit too much mana, I think, for that flyer, and it's too much for its abilities, so I just decided we can live without it. Noxious Gearhulk, I just found a new version of this that's a bit better, or another version of this sort of card that I thought was a bit better, so I just decided that this could go out, plus we already have Menace on most of our other effects, so we don't really need a thing that actually has Menace. One with the machine, just mass card draw. We draw cards equal to the highest mana value amount of artifacts we control. Nice, but we can just do better, I think, by having consistent card draw rather than just mass card draw. And we can even get mass card draw, inconsistent card draw. So I just think that we can do more than that. So Phyrexian Rebirth, had to cut another a board wipe here. Because we were adding a few board wipes, and I just felt that this was the worst one. Some of the new board wipes that I'm adding here just leave us with our board, and that means we can basically just attack into our opponent's almost empty boards. And if they're not completely empty, it doesn't really matter, because again, we have Menace and things like that, so, or flying or whatever, so it doesn't really matter. People aren't going to be able to block very easily. Preordain, just a small cantrip spell. Just don't think it's that relevant to what we're doing. So, and I just don't think it's, that necessary. So I just tossed it out. We have better things that we can use. Relic of Progenitors, very good card. I found another card, again, that I think is a lot better than it, or works well with the strategy that we're trying to enact. But certainly it's a very decent card, and if you can't find it, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, if you can't find it or don't want to put these suggested cards in, you can keep this in, definitely. Sphinx's Revelation, just more mass card draw. We can just get better card draw consistently, or just more mass card draw as well consistently, so we just don't need this. Tempered Steel, I found that we had a whole bunch of things that were buffing our artifacts that were artifacts, so this was just the next thing on the list to be cut because it wasn't an artifact, mostly. Thopter Shop, just way too slow for doing what I think it's doing, or what I want it to do in this deck. Whenever one or more artifacts we control die, we draw a card. It only triggers once per turn. We can pay 3 mana and tap it to make a 1/1 Thopter with flying. So, just way too slow to get everything going. Thopter Spy Network, another enchantment, and I found that we had other artifacts that did the main effect of this, which was whenever one or more artifact creatures we control deal combat damage, we draw a card. At the beginning of upkeep, if we control an artifact, we create a 1/1 Thopter with flying. Is just kind of gravy. We don't really care about that. It's not that big of an effect, so yeah, we can just do better. Thought Vessel, we've got a lot more other mana rocks and mana ramp effects here. I just felt like we didn't really need it. Actually, I do think maybe Solemn could go out, but whatever. Solemn is lands, so lands are good almost. And again, we can draw cards when it dies, so not terrible. Vindicate, just sorcery speed removal, even for any permanent, really isn't going to cut it, so just decided to yeet it out. Additions, Anguished Unmaking, instant speed, removal, just any permanent we lose 3 life. We aren't going to care about 3 life 90% of the time, even 99% of the time, so that's fine. Now, most of the other cards that I have here are Warhammer 40k cards, so it is a little bit difficult to find some of these cards. Not impossible, but if you do have these cards, it is a lot easier. I would lean towards building a deck like this rather than building a Warhammer based deck because it's all in one. It's one theme. So I like that. I like having an artifact deck or an enchantment deck or whatever. Not a Warhammer deck, but I know a lot of people really like Warhammer. So, but yeah, whatever. That's just me. But anyway, Clifton Lips, Scab, however you say his name, Swarm here. Flying, 4 mana, 1/1. When he enters the battlefield, we exile target player's graveyard for each artifact and or land exiled this way. No, it's or land, not and. Oh, okay. Exiled this way, we create a 1/1 colorless insect artifact creature token with flying. So even if we get 1 or 2 other insect flyers out of this, this is really good because, again, we're going to buff up a lot of our other stuff. And these are little flyers that can get in there and do a bit of damage. And he's a 1/1 flyer as well, so can make a whole bunch of bodies for us. Clipterex, Spider, whenever another non-token artifact creature or vehicle enters the battlefield under our control, we draw a card. Very good to draw some cards, and it is an artifact itself. Cliftoneth Hall. I'm terrible at pronouncing a lot of these names, so do forgive me. Artifact creatures we control have hexproof, so that's really good. Stops people from targeting our stuff. Cyberdrive Awakener, other artifact creatures you control have flying. That's really good. Helps us get through bunches of damage. When it enters the battlefield, until end of turn, each non-creature artifact we control becomes an artifact creature with base power 4/4. So all our, lands that are artifacts and all our mana rocks that we happen to have laying around or whatever become 4/4s, which can kill people very quickly on that turn. Mystic Forge, just a great card. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast artifact spells and color spells from the top of your library, and you can remove the top card of your library from the game, so you can get rid of those pesky lands on the top, so when you don't want them. Necron Deathmark, 5 mana, 5/4 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, we destroy one target creature target opponent controls and target player or mill suit cards. So that's really good. Even though it's 5 mana, that is a bit irksome to have to hold up 5 mana for a kill spell. But having flash and being a creature is really useful to our other parts of our strategy. So can be really good. Not the best, but not terrible. Organic Extinction. It has Improvise, which is also pretty useful, especially when we have some summoning sick artifacts and whatnot, because the spell actually uses its ability to tap them, so they don't need to have unsummoning sickness essentially to tap to help pay for this. But it just destroys all non-artifact creatures, so that's really good for us because 90% of our deck is artifacts or even more. So we really care about artifacts. And if our opponents have 1 or 2 artifacts or whatever left remaining, that's probably pretty irrelevant for the most part. Path to Exile, we need decent, single target removal in here, so just added that, plus Resculpt. Basically the same reason. Research Thieves, Flash Flying as well here, which is real good. Whenever an artifact creature we control deals combat damage to player, we draw a card, plus we can flash it in, so that means people won't know that it's coming, and we just draw a whole bunch of cards off of it really quickly. Scapulith Lord, Menace 3/2, we can unearth him. Other creatures we control have +1/+0 and have Menace. So it's a backup to our commander, but it also buffs up our stuff, so that's real useful. Talisman of Dominus, Talisman of Hierarchy, Talisman of Progress. We just need more really good ramp effects in our deck. So these are some decent ones that are pretty cheap, at least now. So get your hands on these and add them to the deck. Techromancer, 7 mana, 5/1. Enters the battlefield, we mill 3 cards, and we can return any number of artifact creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. Can be really powerful, even saying that it mills us. If we don't have anything in our graveyard, hopefully we'll mill some things to get some more things going. I think this is probably the least good one here, but it's still pretty cool just to get back all your stuff or whatnot. Late game. Reality Chip, really good. A look at the top card of your library, and as long as it's essentially equipped to something, we can play the top card if it's a land and cast spells from the top. So really useful to help us get that card advantage going. Their name is Death, just destroy all non-artifacts. Doesn't really affect us very much. We'll leave our opponents with very little. Wayfarer's Bauble just for more decent ramp. I really wanted to put Sword of the Animist or Sword of Hearth and Home in here, but they're pretty expensive for the most part, and I wanted to stay as budget as possible. But those are my suggestions for this deck list. Of course, these are just suggestions, so you can do whatever you want to do with this deck if you really want to, again, go all out or whatever you want to do. But yeah, that is it for this one. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Let me know what you guys think. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below as always, and I'll be sure to try to respond. But yeah, more of these are coming. Oh, one more of these is coming out very soon. So I hope to see you in that one as well.